Hi,
Hi,
how's it going?
welcome to Everyday Ellises.
Welcome to Everyday Ellises.
It was the popular phrase Amanda loves is, um, people underestimate what they can do in 10 years and overestimate what they can do in one. Or vice versa. The idea is that we can do pretty impressive amounts of things over spans of times. Um, to the opposite of that, um, I think it was Elon Musk who said, it's like, yeah, just take whatever your goal was, and how long do you think it was going to take you? 10 years? Okay, change it to 3. Now you just do it in 3 years. Problem solved.
In 2014, Jon was finishing up
College Academy.
college fire academy and completing his fire science associates. And life was like good in Orange County. Jon had a good job with 2 private paramedic companies that he'd been working at for a couple years. And he was finishing up classes. I had a good job with the school district. I was still trying to get hired full time as a teacher. But I did have a job, and I was looking for a full-time job, and I got hired in Ventura. So life quickly changed for us. And I found this spot here, literally, I think it was like 9 houses from the sand in Ventura. Unbelievable. Jon got into Channel Islands to work on his bachelor's. And so I had my first full-time teaching job. Jon was working at the volunteer fire department in La Habra and commuting from Ventura to La Habra to do his volunteer shifts, and commuting from Ventura to
Thermal, past Palm Springs,
to do his private paramedic shifts, and taking full-time classes. Life was crazy. We never saw each other. I was a first-year teacher, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I feel like we saw each other for like 4 hours out of the week at that time. Like, can you describe what you were saying when we first moved there? What that night looked like?
Oh, yeah. So our first night that we moved into our duplex here,
Back in 2014,
I had to drive my mom back to Orange County. And so I slept alone in our Costa Mesa apartment on a towel, cried myself to sleep while Jon, on the floor, yeah. While Jon was here in Ventura in our Bath Lane duplex, sleeping for just a couple hours before he commuted all the way back to Thermal for his private paramedic shift with AMR. And that was like par for the course for our life, our relationship, like just our phase of life. Just crazy. And it was all chaos and beautiful. And even though we had limited time together here in Ventura, we made the best of it. We had such great neighbors. Our Bath Lane neighborhood was incredible. My teaching, team that I got to be a part of was amazing. Jon enjoyed his classes at Channel Islands. He loved his partners out at AMR. He was getting good experience in La Habra. And then...
Yeah, and then the whole world shifted. Yeah, we only got to be here a year. I was in backgrounds for Ventura County and for Sacramento City at the same time. So at this point, and there's been a lot of weird things that up to that point for me, because I was a very, very hard worker, where I feel like everyone I was around, and I jumped into the most intensive programs available for me. I sought out the oldest and best college academy in the state. I sought out the oldest and best paramedic school in the country. I always went to the busiest 911 areas available to private anything. So my peers gave me feedback that I was very good at what I did, and that they didn't understand why I wasn't getting a job yet. And my peers were getting jobs. So I didn't understand why I wasn't hired yet. Just crazy to say that at the age of 25 because that's still pretty young. But compared to my peers, I was still just confused. There was another event that happened with LA County.
I love that you're sharing.
Thank you. They get tens of thousands of applicants every year. A lot of applicants. And they do a stratified sample raffle where if 10,000 applicants put in, applicant number 1,001 to 2,000, so that chunk in the 10,000 gap, they get pulled out of the barrel, and those are the ones that get tests. The rest of them just fell through. They didn't get the raffle. That's how it works. So you have a number you put in, and you're supposed to recycle it every 4 or 8 years. So I'd put in when I was 18, and then when I was 22, I recycled it again. And then at the age of 26...
You were 24 when you were here and got the call.
Yeah, this was a little bit... Oh, was I? Okay, yeah. So 24. Something weird happened where I could tell it didn't go through. So I ended up calling, and I got the lady, and then we talked about it, and she's like, oh, yeah, I see that it's in, but no, it's not in the raffle. Yeah, I see the problem. Okay, I'll look into this and I'll get back to you. And she gets back to me like a few weeks later. She's like, okay, yeah, the problem's solved. Your number's in the raffle now. I said, well, can you tell me what happened? And she said, the strangest thing, the computer took your ID number for your application and processed it as being in the application process, but never actually went into the raffle pool. And I said, what? She's like, yeah, it's crazy. And I'm like, so was it just this time or ever? She's like, no, your name's never been in the raffle.
So for 6 years, it had never been in.
It gets better. I say, so how long have you worked here for? And she's like, oh, for 20 years. I was like, have you ever seen this before? She's like, no, honey, this is the first time I've ever seen it. I've never seen this happen before. But don't worry, because your name's in there now. Hundreds of thousands of applicants over that time period, and mine was the only one that never went in. So weird things happen that have gotten me not to go to the fire department. And then that brings me back to Ventura County at the age of 25, whatever.
It was 24. You were almost 25.
When I got that call and I was getting no answers, and then the background investigator from Ventura County loved me. She absolutely loved me. So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I just want to let you know I got removed. And she was confused by it. And then a couple days later, I get a call from her boss, not from her. He's like, hey, here's the deal, dude. He's like, the date you put on your resume for your associate's degree didn't line up with the date of your actual associate's degree on the cert, which, by the way, wasn't required for the job. You don't need an associate's degree for the job. He's like, that constituted as lying and you were removed. And I'm like, that's the reason? He's like, that's all I can tell you, bud.
So part of this is that Jon was going to school at Santa Ana before we moved here. The school messed up and didn't give him his
didn't
post his communications degree. So he graduated with 2 degrees, associates in fire science and associates in communication, but the school didn't post it. So that was like a whole other thing that we ended up figuring out from this, and it wasn't a malicious intent to lie, and really it was an error on Santa Ana's side that ended up causing this huge fallout for Jon. But his degree did end up getting posted, but I think it took us a whole year. So anyways,
so the long and short of it is, the long and long of it is, that's when I decided to drink a bottle of whiskey and go in the ocean. Because I thought the world was out against me. I thought, I've proved myself time and time again with my peers. I've showed up and done the work. I've prepared. I've done everything. And then it's not like I'm just failing and not making my way in. It's like the universe was trying to not get me a job. Like, you're telling me that a clerical error on the part of someone else is keeping me from my career when I have people over here that are doing drugs and they're getting jobs, you know?
Like actually lying.
Actually lying on things. It was blowing my mind. The LA County thing, I was one out of hundreds of thousands and my number didn't go in.
And then you finally got a call or a paper in the mail, whatever it was.
Yeah, so a little time after that, after I went into the ocean, by the way, I'm not a good swimmer. I didn't die. I found my way back in. I don't remember.
It was terrifying. For me.
Yeah. I at that point, I'd actually resolved that I wasn't going to be a firefighter and it completely dissociated in my mind. I was already planning on how to leave the Harbor Heights and figure what my transfer plan is to get a different job that's not AMR or something that's better paying in a hospital, because now my focus was going to be PA or doctor. Because I knew if I at least walk through the educational program system of these classes, eventually they'd have to employ me.
And you really do like the EMS side of things.
I do. So I'd already written it off. I'd already completely let go of the fire department, as the world didn't want me to be a fireman, and that door was closed on me. And I had to eventually figure out how to provide for a family I wanted. So how long am I going to do this for? It was looking like it was stacking up against me. And then a week or so after that, I got a call from Sacramento, and she's like, "Do you still want the job?" And I didn't reach out to her. And I was like, "Yeah, I do." She's like, "Yeah, your background's complete. You're starting in like 2 weeks." It's like, Jesus.
I don't remember the timing of everything, but
which then it turned. That Sacramento process was like 2.5 year process too, from the time of application to the time of hire. And there's only 2 people that came off of my list, and else they had to recycle a whole nother list and start a whole nother process to get enough guys in the academy.
And then you were supposed to go start the same day in Sacramento as he got an interview with LA
City. With LA City, or was it? Yeah, I think it was LA City.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I got the test offer for written for LA City that lined up the same day as day 1 of the academy for Sacramento. So it was like I had to choose between the Sacramento job and trying for LA City. And then same thing with LA County. Once that raffle got pulled, it was the written or the oral or something, what is going to be like week 2 of the academy. So I had to choose between a shot in the dark for LA County, which they weren't handing out jobs at the time. It was hard. There was still potential for me to fail out. And starting with Sacramento. So we took the said option.
So, what is the what's the
lesson?
The lesson, love.
The lesson is, sometimes, depending on who you are, this isn't for everybody.
Is this for speaking for 24-year-old Jonathan or 34-year-old Jonathan?
This is speaking for 34-year-old Jonathan.
Okay. So now, 10 years later, you're
looking back,
sharing this lesson.
Not everyone's journey looks the same. Some people do just kind of tiptoe and dance through life majestically. and it appears that their strife is not that enduring. Other people will have a hip replacement at the age of 27, a bent spine, maybe some other traumas, and have some strife in their goals. The point isn't to focus on these. The point is that sometimes in your journey, right at the bottom is actually when all the good will come. For some people, you just have to stick to your values and show up every single day over and over again. And if you have faith and you rinse and repeat, eventually your day will come. I think of it like a big battery, right? Like you're charging, it's charging. And you don't really have an idea of how full this battery is. You don't really know. But once it gets full enough, which usually you feel like you're boiling over at this point, it'll be ready to go and give you the spring up the next thing. Or you can use the boomerang, or what's it called, the slingshot effect. You're pulling, and then finally, boom. At least that's the way it was for me. And I'm finding that 10 years later, I'm very much in the same scenario. Where
days ago,
the universe is, I actually use the term stretching me thin, just like a rubber band on a boomerang. The universe is saying, like, I understand you are this person and you've put in all the work, But before I will let you have the person
that's
and
next
be the
level.
person that's next level, you will experience pain and discomfort. And
Again.
you will do things that you don't want to do.
Again.
Just to make sure. Because for some people's journey, that's part of the process. And I'm learning. For me, it's just part of the process. So why fight it or complain about it or walk away from it? It's just freeing when you know that. Like, oh, okay, this process seems unnecessarily shitty. It's probably the right way. It's probably the way, it's probably another sign from the universe saying I'm going the right direction. Because all this weird stuff is happening that's just unneededly difficult.
And just a safety note, looking back, it probably would have been a helpful resource for Jon to have therapy instead of walking into the ocean very late at night dangerously. But we weren't at that point where therapy was something in the toolbox. And now when he's at this new level of up-leveling, he's looking at, we booked an appointment to speak with a medium.
Yeah.
So
we're going to give that a try.
We're excited.
Yeah, we're excited. I think I strike people as like big bad alpha male firefighter. I don't know. I feel like I'm not that way. Some people probably laughing at me for saying that. They're like, you do not look like.
I know. I'm like,
okay. Anyways, the point is, like, firefighters tend to have that persona, right? Not me, but firefighters tend to have that persona, and so you wouldn't relate them to like acupuncture or yoga or meditation.
Yeah, but a lot of them do.
Well, that's new, but that's something
in our repertoire.
In our repertoire, for sure. I think, at least for me, when I go through my waves, right? The thing about in my life is that everyone wants to be the captain of their ship and direct. Because there's a phrase I like to use, right? Don't be the dog pulled by the cart. So to be the captain of your ship, to be able to see where your life is going, right? But the problem is, you are also the ship. You are the soldier. You are the body and the entity that's moving through existence. So your face is hitting every wave as you're going through. Or the other metaphor is like, you are the soldier in the army. So it's really hard to plan out and shift and move your army when you're actively getting punched in the face by another soldier down on the field. Or can you see the forest through the trees? All these things are the same exact metaphors, the same concept for I have a recurring thing in my life where I find that I'm constantly coming up for air to make sure I'm going the right direction, and then going back down to put the work in. Put the work in and move. You got to be down when you're moving, and then you come up for air to make sure you're still going the same direction. And then you put the work in. It's when you feel like you're not getting enough view of the direction.
You're almost there.
And it's not that you're lost. It's that you're literally getting your teeth kicked in during this too. You're like, I'm not just lost with big waves. I am exhausted. And I'm getting my teeth kicked in. And I'm doing the work. I can barely find the energy to even look over the waves to make sure I'm still going the way. Keep putting the work in. Because you're getting real close to whatever the reward is.
I love it. Keep going. We're cheering you on.